I'm going to read from 2 Chronicles chapter 26, verses 16 to 21 from the New International Version. Young people, I want you to listen to this snapshot of this young man's life. His name is Uzziah, as we think about an attitude of gratitude. The Bible tells us, but after Uzziah became powerful, his pride led to his downfall. He was unfaithful to the Lord his God and entered the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense. Azariah the priest with 80 other courageous priests of the Lord followed him in. Verse 18 says, they confronted King Uzziah and said, "It is not right for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to the Lord. That is for the priests and the descendants of Aaron, who have been consecrated to burn incense. Leave the sanctuary, for you have been unfaithful, and you will not be honored by the Lord God." Uzziah, who had a censer in his hand, ready to burn incense, became angry. While he was raging at the priest in his presence before the incense altar of the Lord's temple, leprosy broke out on his forehead. When Azariah, the chief priest, and all the other priests looked at him, they saw that he had leprosy on his forehead, so they hurried him out. Indeed, he himself was eager to leave because the Lord had afflicted him. King Uzziah had leprosy until the day he died. He lived in a separate house, leprous, and banned from the temple of the Lord. Jotham, his son, had charge of the palace and governed the people of the land. You may be seated. In this idea, this theme on your youth day, an attitude of gratitude, I want to talk about an attitude check. An attitude check. Verse 18, they confronted King Uzziah and said, "It is not right for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to the Lord. That is for the priests, the descendants of Aaron, who have been consecrated to burn incense. Leave the sanctuary, for you have been unfaithful, and you will not be honored by the Lord." An attitude check. Uzziah has become prideful and arrogant at this point in his life. He had earthly power, but he had disrespected the all-powerful God. Uzziah had become disobedient. Uzziah had become unfaithful. He did not have an attitude of gratitude. He was in need of an attitude check. I don't understand why Uzziah's attitude was this way at this point in his life. You see, if you read the beginning of chapter 26, you will find that Uzziah, at one point in his life, he had done what was right in the eyes of the Lord. But one day, all of a sudden, this man was in need of an attitude check. Why had he become this way, unfaithful, disobedient? Perhaps it was because of his resume. You know how it is. Sometimes people graduate, then they get a job, and then they get a promotion. The resume is building. Maybe King Uzziah changed his attitude to a bad attitude because of his resume. You see, Uzziah became a king at the precious age of 16. Do we have any 16-year-olds in here? At 16 years old, he became a king. Not only that, but the Ammonites, there were a certain group of people who brought tribute to Uzziah. Almost like today, how I watched how you honored young people who have made so many successes in their academic experience. So they brought this tribute to Uzziah. Maybe it was because Uzziah had people working for him. There were people working in the fields and in the vineyards for Uzziah. Maybe his attitude changed because he had a well-trained army. An army that was so great that they supported him against his enemies. He went to war with the Philistines and ended up breaking down walls, then rebuilding towns. Maybe it was his resume that changed his attitude. Not to mention that the Bible tells us that King and constructing technology. The Bible tells us that he built towers in Jerusalem and in the wilderness. He provided shields and spears and coats of armor and bows and sling stones to his entire army. Oh, he was good with technology. The Bible further tells us that he made devices invented for use on the towers and on the corner defenses so that soldiers could shoot arrows and hurl large stones from the walls. They weren't able to do that until King Uzziah incorporated that into their life experience. Maybe his attitude changed because of success. His fame spread far and wide. I just wonder if these things contributed to his change. He became powerful, and then the Bible tells us that his pride led to his downfall. God helped him, but then he didn't have the right attitude. He became too good for God. I tell you, humanity has to watch becoming too good for God. Perhaps you are too good for the clothes you wear. Perhaps you are too good for your job. Perhaps you are too good for that boyfriend or that girlfriend. But to become too good for God must never become too good for God. This man's attitude changed, so he was in need of an attitude check. Happens that way sometimes. Traveling along life, and all of a sudden something happens to that attitude, and you need to give yourself an attitude check. Uzziah, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and checked yourself? Uzziah, you can look at your army and the people working for you. You can look all around, but have you checked yourself? You see, he would have to check himself in order to make sure that he wasn't becoming a person that was out of order, out of line. You see, there's a thin line between celebrating yourself and then not giving God the glory. It's okay to celebrate milestones that we reach. It's okay to celebrate our young people and to celebrate yourself and advancement. It's okay to throw a party. But when you leave God out of the party, oh, every position, Uzziah, is not yours. Every word that you have is not meant to be spoken. Every work to be done is not yours. Every action is not for you to be taken. Uzziah, check yourself. You were a king, Uzziah, but the Bible doesn't tell us that you were a priest. You see, Uzziah, he defied the Lord by going in the temple to burn incense on the altar of incense. He had no right doing that. That was for those who have been consecrated to do so. You're a king, but you're not a priest. Only the priests were to do this. You would need to be honest with himself. Is that really your task? Is that really your lane to drive in? I mean, just because there's something going on doesn't mean that that's your something. That's why it's so important for humanity to seek God earnestly so that we might know where we fit in the house of the Lord. If you're a deacon, you're not the pastor. If you're an usher. If you're a trustee, be a trustee. If you sing in the alto section, don't try to sing in the soprano section. You don't belong there. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Uzziah would have to be honest. He would have to have this attitude check. Each and every day is so important because we know how humans can be. Not only would he need to check himself, but he would have to accept the fact that there were those around. The priests were there to assist in the checking. He was needing to be checked by others. The Bible tells us that Azariah the priest was accompanied by 80 strong, courageous priests that followed Uzziah to help him. But Uzziah, he refused the guidance. Young people, God has placed some people in your life, some people who have been down the roads that you're trying to travel. God has placed these people people in your life, and it's important to listen to them, because you will either learn by mentoring or you'll learn by mistakes. Everything does not have to be learned through trial and error. You don't have to go through everything that somebody else went through. These men are there and they're trying to help this king. He's refusing the help. Uzziah, God placed these people here to help you, to guide you, to reprimand you, to let you know that what you're doing right now is wrong. And you know, there used to be a time in our community where you could tell a child that they were wrong. There used to be a time where if you corrected a child, even in the presence of their parent, the parent would appreciate you, because they really believe that it takes a village to raise a child. But in 2019, there are some of us who are parents now, and we believe it takes a village to raise a child until you talk to my child a way that I don't like, even though they're wrong. It takes a village to raise a child until you offend me with your words, even though my child is wrong. It takes a village to raise a child until you don't even have children. How are you going to tell me how to raise mine? It takes a village to raise a child until your kids are in prison. How can you tell me what to do? It takes a village to raise a child until you're too old school. You don't know what you're talking about. We've been in a different time. It takes a village to raise a child until you let the child be the parent, because you're trying to be your child's friend. It takes a village to raise a child. Don't call on the church after your child is in trouble. Let the church help you while your child is free. Let the church serve your entire family. And when you're wrong, let somebody call you out. Uzziah, you're out of order. Somebody needs to let you know when you're wrong. And you need to accept it in love. You see, maybe these priests were following the idea of the Baptist covenant. I don't know, maybe these were some Baptists, some black Baptist priests. There were 81 of them and one King Uzziah. 81 men who maybe were following the Baptist covenant. You know, the part that says we further engage to watch over one another in brotherly love. Maybe they were being good Baptists. Maybe Uzziah should have followed the part that says to be slow to take offense, but always ready for reconciliation. Maybe he should have followed that part of the Baptist covenant and thank God for the blessing of help. Instead, he raged against the priest. Young people, Uzziah was salty. You can't tell me anything. I'm 10 years old. You can't tell me anything. I'm 17. I'm 18. Maybe Uzziah did not accept the guidance. But you know, Uzziah was a little older by the time we get to this part of the text. So maybe he was old and stubborn. Maybe he said, I've been around long enough. Can't nobody correct me. You can't tell me anything because of the years that I've had. But let me tell all of our generations that God is our Father. And when God looks on us, he sees children. And the fact of the matter is, God wants his children to have guidance. And the Holy Spirit can speak to you through anyone from any generation. You ought to want to hear from God, no matter whether they're 2 or 202. Do you trust the voice of the Lord? Do you trust the voice of the Holy Spirit speaking through anyone and saying to you, no, you're not right? How many people know that sometimes we're wrong? And wrong doesn't care how old you are. God wants us to check ourselves, and God wants us to receive the check from us. Receive it, receive it. Why? Because Uzziah had to pay a for not checking his attitude. The price he had to pay was called consequence. You see, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequence. His pride had gotten in the way, and we know that Proverbs 16:18 tells us pride comes before disaster and arrogance before a fall. Uzziah ended up with a dreaded skin disease, broke out on his forehead, and for the rest of his life he was ritually unclean, unable to enter that temple again. He lived in his own house, relieved of all of his duties. Pride can cause us to take our focus off God and put our focus on ourselves. Pride causes us not to be all that God has called us to be, because we pay more attention to that person in the mirror than we do the person who made that person. Pride can cause us not to choose God, but to choose ourselves. Pride causes us not to trust in God, the mighty maker of man, but to trust in man. And so then when we feel down, we don't go to God first. We go to things to medicate ourselves, because we haven't checked our attitude to know that the most powerful thing that we can ever have is the love of God. Never let what you do and who you are seem greater than who God is and what God has done. God has been mighty good, and I'm so glad that Jesus Christ wasn't prideful at the cross. Can you imagine if Jesus was prideful at the cross? If Jesus was prideful at the cross, only thinking about himself, he would have said, I never lied. They lied. If Jesus was prideful at the cross, he would have said, I never cheated. They cheated. If he was prideful, he would have said, I never stole a thing in my life. But they stolen. I never hurt anyone, but they hurt one another. I never disobeyed my Father, but they disobeyed the Father. If Jesus was prideful, he would have said, I never sinned. They sinned. But thanks be unto God that Jesus Christ was never prideful. You see, rather than choosing pride, he chose nails in his hands. Rather than choosing pride, he chose nails in his feet. Rather than choosing pride, Jesus Christ chose a crown of thorns on his head and a piercing in his side. I'm so glad that Jesus Christ did not choose pride, because rather than choosing pride, he chose to die. And he chose to rise in 3 days for you. He chose to rise in 3 days for me. And so since Jesus has chosen you, you need to choose Jesus. I said, because Jesus has chosen you, you need to choose Jesus. We need to make Jesus our choice. Accept Jesus Christ to be head of our lives. God has been good to us. So then now, Oak Grove, it's time for an attitude check. How is your attitude today? Are you complaining about the food that you don't have? Or are you thanking God for the last meal that you had and the one that you're probably going to have? We don't really know what it is to be hungry. Are you complaining? This is an attitude check. About the clothes that you don't have, or the name brand that's not listed on those clothes? Or are you glad that you're clothed and in your right mind? This is an attitude check. Are you church.